Hello, and welcome to Together with Rabbi Yonah. Today in our program, we have Dan Messinger. Dan is a small business owner in Los Angeles, one of the millions who've been hard hit by the economic crisis and the pandemic. We are really excited to have Dan Messinger on the show, and thank you for joining us. Dan, where are you right now? Is that a set in Hollywood somewhere?
Yes, I've rented out a studio and I've had them build an exact replica of the bakery behind me just so I feel comfortable, but I wouldn't want to use the actual bakery. I'm here, I'm at the production facility, production being like actual making stuff, not movie stuff. Production facility for the Kosher Cookie Company.
Okay.
Many of you probably know me, I hope, or those of you in local in LA know BB's Bakery and Cafe on Pico Boulevard, which is my main business. But about a year ago, I started a second business called the Kosher Cookie Company, and we have a separate production facility. That's where I am now. The cookie baker has gone home, so I wanted a more quiet place. But it's another bakery essentially.
It's terrific. It looks like the real thing.
It's just like it, and you can smell it. It smells like the real thing too.
How is it being a small businessman, a restaurant, cafe, bakery in this day and age?
Well, it's tough. I will say there are a few things to say. The first is I appreciate that I'm able to be open at all, which is not true of many small businesses who had to close entirely, certainly in California and all around the country because of stay at home uh, and and the quarantine and people really sheltering in place. I guess that's what we're
Right.
calling. So I do feel fortunate that we are considered essential, so the business can be open. Now, that said, um, the food and kosher food business is difficult to begin with, and now with the new parameters of what we're dealing with, is even more challenging. Um, so I would say that we as a business in the bakery cafe have lost or not lost. We've seen a reduction of 40 to 50% of traffic. And that is for any number of reasons that are all totally legitimate. One of which is that people are not going out. So they're not going out to eat. And even if they were going out, they wouldn't be able to eat anywhere. They'd just be taking takeout. So that isn't always interesting for everyone. Um, Another thing is I think people are starting to feel some economic and financial constraints. And so they are acting a little bit more responsibly or conservatively with their money. So if they were a family or a person who used to eat out a few times a week, maybe they've cut that in half, or maybe they've made it once a week, or maybe not at all. It's just going to be a special occasion because they're trying to watch their budgets. Um, and then for me, as a breakfast lunch primarily place, um, if you're home, which most people hopefully are, certainly in our neighborhood in LA, if you're home,
Right.
you wake up, you have breakfast. You don't need to have me make you an omelet and send it to you, which we will be happy to do. But most people will eat their breakfast at home.
One of my favorite things is going to you for morning business meetings.
Hmm.
It's a intimate little shop, and the food comes fresh and hot, and it's always tasty. And it's one of my favorite places to have if to have any breakfast meeting. And of course, I'm not doing any of those breakfast meetings. I'm guessing I'm not alone.
Yes, for sure. I mean, there are definitely regulars who we would see on their way to work, or people who would have their meetings or would use us as a place to meet up with friends or for business meetings. And of course, that just isn't happening right now. So, that is where we are in terms of that business. The other piece, and that's really foot traffic related. The other piece is that there's no catering or special events going on right now because there aren't gatherings of more than a few people. So was always an important revenue stream for us and for most restaurants, and a way that we could balance out if there was a bad day of foot traffic, but we had a decent catering day, or somewhere in the week you had a nice catering order that helped help balance out your weekly take.
What are some of the things that you're doing to fill the gap of those catering orders? You were telling me about some pretty interesting, things that you've developed.
So I'll step back for a moment and say that this is a difficult time by any definition, and a challenging time. But I've actually started to appreciate the challenge, and that's probably something why I've chosen to be in business for myself. Why I've chosen to be a small business owner is because I like a challenge and I like to be creative and like to use my creativity to address challenges, which is true of most things in life, but certainly if you're running a business. So I've been trying to embrace the situation and look at what we do have, and see what we can use to help people in their situation. So there are a few things that we've done. The first thing we've done within the bakery is we've been doing um, a lot of things that can provide an activity for people at home. So, for example, we sell a pizza making kit, a make your own pizza kit, which has the dough and the sauce and the cheese all together, and people can bake it
That's
at home,
brilliant.
make it with their kids, make it with their family. It is a delicious dinner. There's nothing like getting food fresh out of the oven, and if it's in your oven, it's going to be faster than if it was from my oven delivering to you. And kids especially have a great time with it. So that's been very popular. And in fact, last week we hosted a virtual pizza making party where we encouraged people to buy the kits, make their pizza at home, and then post their pictures online. And we had a number of people who did that. And that was fun.
My first serious high school job was at a pizzeria. So this is
I
to all the audience out there. I mean, you can really get your start in pizza making. Are you teaching people how to like spin it?
we didn't do that, although I'd be happy to do that. I mean, in a sense, that feels like
But the
it's like the Last Starfighter. The whole thing is a video game to figure out who's going to be the next employee. If you do it well, you've won, and now you're hired.
so
But that,
people just come. People are just calling up and taking these pizzas to go.
so we have a pizza kit. It's available if you walk in and want to order it, or you can get it delivered through Postmates or DoorDash or soon through
Oh,
a
is
few other.
is a lot? Is there a lot going on with the DoorDash Postmates delivery system, and how does that work?
So there is. I mean, I'll get back to a few other things that we're doing in a moment. But the third party delivery services have been great. It's a double edged sword, as many things are. They provide a way for us to deliver to our customers, and there is a cost
Sure.
for them, which is fair because they are providing a service, but it does take a pretty big bite. Um,
What are the other projects that you mentioned? You kind of innovations that you've brought to the
so
forefront.
so in addition to the make your own pizza, we have a paint your own cookie. So you
Oh,
get a
cute.
that comes with a paintbrush, and on the cookie it's a blank, sort of a blank canvas. The cookie, a blank cookie, not a canvas, but it has some almost paint or food coloring circles on it, and you just wet the brush and you can make a picture, and then you can eat the picture. That's also great. It's keeping your kids occupied, and at the end of their activity they have a cookie to eat. So things like that, we're really trying to. We sell a lot of challah dough, we sell cookie dough, things that help us get our product out there and also help engage the customers. So that's one area we've
You
done.
can you can get the challah dough. People can just buy challah dough and bake it at home.
So we've been doing this for years, where we sell the challah dough. We sell People will come in on typically Thursdays and Fridays, but now we have it available throughout the week, and they buy. We sell at a very reasonable price. We sell 3 pounds of dough for $5. You can get two decent challahs out of that.
It's
Um,
phenomenal.
yeah. So these are all things that we try to do. One of the things that I've been most proud of in the past couple of weeks is a new business venture that just came up, and that is called Shabasket. So, recognizing that people were not coming in because they wanted to stay at home, and that they were less comfortable with going out in public as they should have been when that was the rule, and then as they probably will still feel as some of the restrictions are eased. This is a delivery service for challah, and for dessert, and for an expanding list of things where we will drop off on Friday afternoons. So it's called Shabasket, a little combination of Shabbat and basket. So a little bundle of things that you need for your Shabbos table. And rather than you having to order it through a delivery service or come in, you could order it online, and we drop it off at your door. So you have sort of Shabbos in a box or in a bag, really.
What's the website for that one?
So it's shabasket.com, SHABBASKET.
Nobody else had taken that one.
And remarkable, Shabasket was available. It didn't have to be, Shabasket one.
That's fabulous.
That's been nicely successful. I will say what's been interesting about that is the utility of that, or the feasibility of that, I should say, is only because there's no cars on the street. If traffic were typical for LA, it would not be practical because it would take too long to do the deliveries. But because everyone's at home, which
the streets are empty,
necessitates the need for this. Because of that, you can do enough deliveries within the period of time where it makes it cost effective.
Tell me about delivering food to the hospitals in Orange County. And do you ship food?
So the cookie company does ship anywhere in the country, actually. That's the basis of the Kosher Cookie Company, is that it's a mail order website. Now, we do deliver and distribute locally in LA, but the idea is that you could order something online and then we'll ship it to you. What we've done with a couple other restaurants and also independently, and partnering with some donors, some schools and some synagogues and some other individual donors, is we've been providing meals and treats for some of the local hospitals. So, for example, we've done breakfast for Cedars and lunches for the Kaiser in our neighborhood. We delivered to UCLA. We delivered to St. John's Hospital. In some cases, individuals have sponsored a pizza or some cookies. In some cases, a school or a shul has sponsored a meal. And it's been really nice. It's been a win-win from the perspective, a win-win-win, a triple win, if you will, a three-peat, because the donors feel great about it. They're able to do something and show their appreciation.
Okay.
Then I, as a small business, I'm able to make some money because we're able to keep our employees working. And then the recipients, of course, can feel the appreciation, feel the love from the community. So that's been
and
really
maybe even a 4-time win, because the people at the hospital who are being treated, their doctors are happier and the nurses are happier because they had such a great meal from BB's.
I'll take a 4-peat and 2 more peats, then we can be Michael Jordan level.
There we go.
Yeah.
Tell me, why did you stay open? I know a bunch of people closed, laid off workers, especially some of the really big companies, right? They were laying off restaurant workers and closing here in LA, way bigger companies. Why did BB stay open?
Well, one of the things about a small business is we're a little more nimble, that we can adapt. And so I have fewer employees. So the amount of money that it costs me to stay open is, of course, it's proportional. It's important to me. But it's lower than, say, a huge chain, which may have had other factors involved. For me, it wasn't really a choice. This is what I do for a living. This is how I support my family. And as long as I can stay open, I wanted to stay open. So that was number one. Number two, I have employees. I have people who count on me to provide for them and their families. And so again, as long as we can stay open, I wanted to. And the third piece, of course, is that we do provide a service for the community in providing kosher food for people for whom that is important, and just food in general. So those are things that I didn't really see as much of a choice. That said, you're constantly doing the math in your head. You're saying, is it worth it to stay open? Is it costing me more money to stay open than it would to be closed? For me, that was not the case, and that is yet to become the case. And I'm hoping that it never becomes the case.
Have you lost any of your customers to COVID?
Thankfully, I'm not aware of. Well, that's not entirely true. There was one customer who was someone who came very frequently. He actually was basically a beggar to a certain extent, who sat outside our restaurant quite consistently for the past number of months. And I found out through Facebook that he had passed away due to COVID. Now, he was not someone who was especially healthy. Certainly, it did not appear to be particularly healthy to begin with. But that was one loss. And of course, we hear not just direct, but indirectly with customers who themselves have either been in hospital and thankfully recovered, or who have had relatives, some not in LA, but relatives on the East Coast who have passed away because of COVID.
Could you tell me and our audience, Dan, as a such a hard worker like yourself with such an original business that you run, what can this translate to other people who are facing hardships? What can the experience of Dan at BB's help the rest of us here in Los Angeles and well beyond as we're reaching audience members all over?
Um, so when we talk about the inevitability or things we can't control, people will say, "Well, that's just how the cookie crumbles." I mean, that's how. I mean, I say it specifically, pun very much intended in this business, and people use that kind of thinking as a way to sort of throw their hands up. It is what it is. And I have been trying to take the perspective of putting the cookie back together, reassembling those crumbs back into the cookie, because that's all we have to do. That's all we can do. It isn't just it is what it is. It is what we make it. And so I would hope that people will see the things that we're trying to do as a business and that other businesses are trying to do to stay afloat, to keep swimming during this period, as a way to say, oh, you know what? It's not what I expected. It's not what it was a few months ago. It's not what I thought it would be. But that doesn't mean that it's over. And it means that we have to be creative. We have to really improvise in a way that makes our businesses and our families and our lives functional and successful. I'll say a couple of positive things. We tend to dwell on the negative of the situation, and there are plenty of things to dwell on there. But some positive things have been the cooperation between restaurant owners, in particular kosher restaurant owners, who have been working together in terms of trading ideas and best practices and helping each other when they needed supplies, or if one is going to deliver somewhere that's maybe a little bit far off, let's say, okay, great, why don't you advertise also, and we'll save the expense. We'll have one driver and we'll all deliver to one location together. And that way we can offer our food, whether it was, me working with Pizza World or La Gondola or other restaurants to distribute our food to Irvine and San Diego and other places that typically we wouldn't be able to because it didn't make sense. So that kind of cooperation is positive.
That was extremely inspiring. I tell you, trying to create Jewish unity on a communal level, and seeing what you did with the different restaurants, and they all were kind of like this team. We're all going down to Orange County together. That was inspiring.
It was
inspiring.
Thank you. I mean, look, for us, it was for all the restaurants. I think it was just about doing stuff that made sense, and it was we were trying to promote our businesses and just get some revenue going. But the side effect was that it really felt good. And I would say also that there's been a lot of support from the community.
Right.
Individual customers who come in and many people just say thank you. We appreciate that you are staying open, which is great. And it's tough because and I sort of mentioned this in a blog that I had written last week. We've really been putting up these barriers. We're literally putting a mask and building a wall between ourselves as human beings, and the gloves and the mask, and everything's very sterile. And the idea of a small business and just a community is that we don't have these things between us. We want to remove those barriers, but we're literally putting something between us. And it's going to take a lot for us to get past the physical separation that we are putting between us, because we need each other now more than ever.
That's beautiful. That article you published on the Jewish Journal website?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, we'll put the link in our show notes. And you were showing me something before we went on camera here, a special thing for Mother's Day.
Sure.
Would
So
you mind bringing that
I,
up?
I'd be happy to. So these are some things that we've sent out to the cookie company, but we'll have locally in LA available. This is a little Mother's Day package here. Oh, let me see camera. So just cookies that say mom and some hearts and a nice butterfly. I have this is one cookie, an extra cookie we have says thank you. This is part of a package that a school up in Northern California is sending to all their teachers. So this is Teacher Appreciation
Oh,
Week,
very nice.
and so they're sending packages of cookies to their teachers. That's a day school uh, up in Northern California. So look, we're trying to provide products that people can use now to maintain those relationships with each other. Now, of course, again, a very big win-win where we're able to sell things, keep the business running, keep the employees working, keep everything humming, and then get people to interact and to strengthen their relationships at a time when we're so separate.
I really appreciate you taking time during and a full day. I know you're working tirelessly to provide the community with delicious food and so many others and so many things that you do. We really thank you. And we'll put all kinds of show notes at the bottom. Thank you, Dan, for your time. And I look forward to bumping into you again on the streets of Los Angeles.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share this time with you. And also, I look forward to the time when you can have those business meetings back in person at BB's with your Barricas. Your favorite order will still be there when you're back.
Oh, I breathe a sigh of relief. That is what I miss. I miss your Barreca breakfast. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, this is terrific. Thank you again. And
Thank you.
regards to all the awesome staff at your bakery. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
We often share this metaphor. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And I loved how Dan explained that, yes, you can approach the problems that we're facing today as, well, that's just the way it is. Or we can actually say, well, there might be something we can do about it. We can put the cookie back together. Whether that's businesses or personal lives or relationships, we can put the time and the effort and put those things back together. And it requires creativity, and it requires some diligence and passion. And of course, it requires some divine providence and assistance in the matter. Just because we find ourselves in the state we're in today does not mean that that's the state of affairs that we have to live with and be satisfied with. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed the program. Feel free to share it with your friends on Facebook and on YouTube, and we look forward to being with you again soon.